Hi, this is Kara from the Special Needs Mom podcast.
And this is Angela from Especially Organized, Sensible Solutions for Special Needs Moms.
We have this heart for special needs moms. And so we thought, you know what, let's combine forces. And we have come up with what we're calling the Purge Party. And you can pretty much guess what it is. It's a party where we're going to come together and we're going to purge or, in general, accomplish a goal, a small goal together. So we have set this for January 27th, starting at 8 o'clock for my Pacific Coast people,
which means 11 o'clock for all of you on the East Coast. So this is an opportunity. If you have something on your to-do list that has just been stuck there and you are wanting to move it up on the list, you're wanting to tackle, maybe it's a space or an area of your home or a category in your home that has just needed a little time and attention. This is your opportunity for you to be online with us while you work and have access for us to help you answer your questions, help guide you, and just serve you for those 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can tell like what we've designed is just this very high level of support for that project that you just haven't been able to tackle on your own. The thing that we are envisioning is that you get to leave this purge party feeling so accomplished because you did the thing. You started the year off getting that thing done that you were stuck on last year. And so it's a momentum builder, if you will. You can go ahead and sign up. We have a link ready for you. And we are offering this for $40 for the whole experience.
Absolutely. And we hope you'll join us. I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a great group of moms of special needs kids. So we all get each other. We all have an understanding of what it's like to have something on our to-do list, but just we haven't been able to tackle it yet. So I hope that you will join us. We're super excited to bring this to you, and we are thrilled to work with you.
All right. We'll see you all there. Hi, I'm Kara, life coach, wife, and mom to 4 incredible and unique children. It wasn't all that long ago that my son received a diagnosis that had my world come crashing down. I lacked the ability to see past the circumstances, which felt impossible, and the dreams I once had for my life and family felt destroyed. Fast forward past many years of surviving and not at all thriving, and you'll see a mom who trusts that she can handle anything that comes her way and has access to the power and confidence that once felt so lacking. I created the Special Needs Mom podcast to create connection and community with moms who find themselves feeling trapped and with no one who really understands. My intention is to spark the flare of possibility in your own life and rekindle your ability to dream. This isn't a podcast about your special needs child. This is a podcast about you. If you are a mom who feels anxious, alone, or stuck, then you are in the right place. Welcome. Hello, and welcome back to the Special Needs Mom podcast. It's good to be with you ladies today, and I'm recording this the week of Thanksgiving. This episode will come out on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm really hopeful that you will have pressed play early in the day on Thanksgiving so that you can really bring this into the entire week of Thanksgiving and beyond. So today what I wanted to talk about is a couple things. Ultimately, it's a conversation about beauty and finding beauty and soaking in beauty. But this is not just a random thought. It's actually a thought built on the idea, or even just as I noticed, that naturally as we head into Thanksgiving, and I'm probably a little late for this conversation, but you know what? We're working with what we have. Gratitude comes up a lot. And actually, I have an episode on gratitude from last year. And I still believe in gratitude. It's amazing. And sometimes my guess is you're just not ready for that conversation. That what you're facing feels so dark and so something that you are not grateful for, that even the conversation about gratitude is a little eye-rolly for you. You're like, I just don't want to hear any more about gratitude. I'm just not thankful right now. Okay, so that's kind of where this conversation came from. And so, what I wanted to talk about is a very simple conversation. This won't be a long episode about using beauty as a very effective, science backs this, easy, and attractive way of sinking into, maybe it's not a spirit of gratitude, doesn't have to be, but to a place where there's comfort and healing. I think this comes from a place where, if you are a longtime listener, you'll probably sense that and hopefully from what I've shared, that I am still very much in the recovery and maybe even just starting the idea of recovering from my son's second brain tumor. And it's interesting. I'm going to share as openly as I can through the whole time because I think it serves us. I feel like I'm starting over. Things I felt like I had learned or I had maybe even confidence in or mastery over, it feels like they're whole new concepts for me now. So ultimately, I think it's good, but is it easy? Not really. So as I was starting over yesterday, my husband, it was a Sunday, and he said, "Hey, do you want to you want to walk Sally?" Because we walk our dog every morning, and usually he does it. And he just was offering, "Hey, do you want to go on a walk?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to go on a walk. That sounds amazing." There wasn't a lot of intention or thought. It was just like, yes, I want to go out and have a walk with my sweet little pup. As I was walking, as I typically do, I was listening to a podcast. This particular podcast was between one of my favorites, Adam Young, on the Place We Find Ourselves podcast. On this podcast, he was interviewing an author my husband loves named John Eldredge. I mean, they were talking about a book I had already read. So I probably had skipped this episode a while back, but the particular episode was called How to Get Your Life Back. And I thought, perfect, exactly what I need. So I was listening to it. And most of this episode actually is going to be excerpts from this book, particularly on the chapter of, I think he calls it Drinking Beauty, which is beautiful. And so I was on this walk listening to this podcast, and it was kind of a funny experience because it's like I'm in a walk experiencing nature, listening to why it's so impactful and helpful to be in nature. So that was kind of fun and maybe extra effective. And ultimately, it was a conversation about how beauty heals and how beauty comforts. And the reason I think this is so important for us special needs moms is because oftentimes there is not comfort available in looking at our circumstances, in looking at the challenges that we have, that we're facing with our children and the uncertainties. It's just not a place where we can cultivate comfort. There's just too many unpredictables. There's too many areas that are hitting up against things that really cause a lot of fear. When I say comfort's not available there, it's just not a place where we're going to find comfort. It's not a place that offers us comfort. We can find peace, which is a totally different thing. But I think that's one of the reasons why for us special needs moms, finding places where we can find comfort, where we can find healing is so important, because so much of our life, it just doesn't have it available. So something that John Eldredge pointed out in his book, and the book is again called Get Your Life Back, is the research shows that patients recover faster, need fewer pain medications, and leave the hospital sooner if they simply have a window that allows view of nature. I think that's so fascinating. Okay, and here's another quote from John. Beauty heals, partly because it proclaims there is goodness in the world and that goodness prevails or is preserved or will somehow outlast all harm and darkness. And this particularly spoke to me as I was preparing for this episode. Again, going back to kind of me coming out of a very hard, I don't know if I would describe it as dark. I would describe it as heavy, a heavy season. That beauty, my experience of beauty typically is that it's so big. It is so much, like it's actually out of control, but in a good way, in the sense of like, it's like there's so many trees. The ocean is so big. I happen to live on the coast in San Diego, or coastal enough to where I can see the ocean often. And every time you when it's not cloudy, when you drive over a hill and you get to see the blue vastness of the ocean, like every time, it's amazing. For me, the experience is overwhelmingly big and beautiful and just so much stronger than anything else I can come up with. And I think that it gives a window into the possibility of, like John said, of goodness. Like when you see beauty, I associate it with good. It just feels good to see something beautiful. And it gives a window that there's something else besides this heaviness that I'm currently experiencing. Another quote, I'll read it. Beauty reassures us that goodness is still real in the world, more real than harm or scarcity or evil. Beauty reassures us of abundance, especially that God is absolutely abundant in goodness and in life. Now, if we were in the room together, I would say, how many of you have doubted that God is good during your experience as a special needs mom? My arm would go up pretty fast, and my bet is that yours would too. I think we have a kindredness together as moms that have seen and witnessed the unthinkable horrors that our children have had to experience. And I think that having the honest conversation with God of wondering how this fits into his goodness is just inevitable. I think also, if you haven't put words to this or even kind of spoken to this, giving it attention, my guess is that it feels like a wrong conversation to have. If you've come from being raised in the church, it's just not a conversation that you've probably ever heard. But I'm here to say it's okay to question this. And I think it's a natural part of being human. And I should probably do a whole episode because I think I have a lot more to say on this. I want to keep this episode short, so I'm going to end there. But I'm going to circle back to just recognizing that this is why beauty is so comforting and so healing. Because it reassures us of the possibility of God being good and abundant. We're going to transition, and I want to put out some ideas of how you can apply this concept. Okay, so what I'm going to be taking on in my life is kind of making it a point of getting into nature or connected to beauty every day. I'm going to generally say like 5 minutes every day. So actually, after this podcast episode recording, my plan is to go outside and simply go for a walk. I live in an area where we have all these beautiful hills around us. And I'm just going to go up the hill a little bit and find the view because we actually have an amazing view where I can hike the hill and I can see the ocean on a clear day. So for me, it's just simple. The kids are out of the house for a little bit. I have a little window of time. I don't think I'm going to have time after that. And to me, it was so healing and beautiful yesterday. I'm going to commit in this time of recovery that it'll just be 5 minutes every day is my goal. A couple other ideas is to bring it to you. This is why I think if you think about like bringing flowers to somebody that's in recovery or has lost a loved one is such a beautiful gesture, is it brings beauty of nature to us. So perhaps you buy yourself flowers. Perhaps you buy yourself a new plant and plant it in your garden. Depending on where you live, this will obviously apply differently. That's one of the luxuries of living in Southern California. We can do this kind of things year round. The idea here is really finding it everywhere. So perhaps you live in an area, you're going to get a big snowstorm. You're not going to go outside. I don't know. But you can find it in everywhere. So I think one of the quickest accesses we have to beauty in nature is the beings that we live with, as in the human beings, as in your children, right? So you can find this beauty in nature, in your child's face, hair, toes, like just even finding and noticing the small things. I think most effective is getting out actually in nature where you get to see the beauty that is created as part of our world. However, I'm putting these ideas out there because I don't want anything to kind of stop us. So I think that's ideal, but it does not have to look one way. Lastly, and in all applications, we have to allow it in. We have to let it soak in. And if I look back to my walk yesterday, I recognize, wow, interesting. I got to the top of the mountain. I took a couple pictures. I was trying to take a selfie with my dog and it was not working. And so didn't get that. She wasn't cooperating. I think she was hot and tired. And anyhow, I was writing some things and I was kind of enjoying my time. I certainly was enjoying my time. But a little bit after I went down the mountain, I realized, oh man, I really didn't take it all in. And I was like, shoot, bummer. I missed that. This is not an opportunity to beat ourselves up, ladies. This is just an opportunity to notice. Okay, so allow it in. Let it in. Let it bring you that comfort. Let it bring you that healing. Let it have the feeling of feeling good in your body. And actually, I thought this would be a really fun thing to do over on Instagram to kind of work in coordination with this podcast. And I'm going to be posting a picture every day of the beauty that I'm finding. I'm going to use the hashtag There Is Beauty Here Too. And I invite you to tag me because that would be really fun. I'll share your images as they come up as well. And I've actually thought of the hashtag There Is Beauty Here Too for other applications because I think, again, as special needs moms, sometimes it feels like it is all It is all hard. It's all dark. It's all heavy. And I'm going to share this last excerpt from the book as we conclude this episode. When we are harried, haunted, in fight or flight, beauty seems a luxury for people on vacation. Just the opposite is true. It's a lifeline being thrown to you from heaven. Oh my gosh, isn't that so perfect? So this is again wrapping in why I wanted to talk about this today on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Because I am experiencing this along with you, that finding beauty and being in beauty is the comfort and healing I need. And I'm relating to it as a lifeline being thrown to me from heaven. We will see you on next week's episode. One more thing before we officially wrap up this show. Sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, I have the experience of wanting more. I'm listening at the very end thinking, I sure wish that episode didn't end. I invite you, if you feel in any way the same way, I invite you to the Special Needs Mom podcast community, which is a free group that I host on Facebook, where we as a community of fellow moms who listen to this podcast and are experiencing life in similar shoes get to talk to one another, get to share stories, get to actually interact. I hope you'll consider joining. See you over there.